What's the good word, Josh? Your boy DKB here. So, two important players for the New York Jets this season have both called out the Jets coaching staff and/or front office, but I'll relegate it to the coaching staff here after our Vikings loss. Right now, we've had some time to kind of sit and contemplate, sit on our laurels, and figure out what is happening with the New York Jets. And there's a lot to debate on that forefront. But right after the game, the player that surprised me the most in Quincy Williams, because he's one of those, I won't say quiet guys, right? Like we've heard the commentary from guys like, Tyron Smith, for example, but he's a guy that generally is a little bit more reserved to himself. Obviously, the personality's there, but he's not looking to make waves. He's not looking to really give a ton of headlines or fodder to the rest of the NFL when it comes to, storylines and different things of that nature. So hearing his post press game conference really, really struck a chord with me almost immediately. So he mentioned, I'm going to be honest, people get tired of hearing the same shit. People got to start taking accountability. People get tired of hearing the same thing every week. That's all I got to say. Short, sweet, to the point, but what stood out is one, he's one of many stars on the defense, but when you hear a guy that generally is reserved peep up, it tends to take a little bit more, send out some more red flags than, say, somebody like a Sauce Gardner flagging us, right? Two, anybody on the defense that would speak up to this point would have my ears perk up, because one, Salah's defense has been one that has suffered maybe worse than any other defense in the NFL with the amount of lack of offensive support that they've received. But generally, they have been the glue for the team. And I don't just mean that in the literal sense that they've been the most productive unit out of the three phases, but also the fact that it's been the likes of Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley's and, DJ Reeves and Sauce Gardner's that have really put their emotions and feelings to the side to make sure that they're not calling anybody out on offense. They're not addressing anybody from a coaching staff perspective with all of the struggles and them consistently being out on the field for, 40 plus minutes every game. It's week 5. It already feels like doomsday for us. And it seems like the defense would already be feeling that pressure and that sense of deja vu where we're going down that rabbit hole again, where we're going to be gassed out and burned out. And this is after Aaron Rodgers was supposed to come back and save us. This was after the offseason of nothing but essentially positive news from the offensive standpoint, when you have guys like Garrett Wilson going off every practice and certain days even having multiple touchdowns, game in and game practice in and practice out, guys stepping up like Xavier Gipson and seeing Malachi Corley flash at points and Alan Lazard having touchdowns for almost entire week of practice, and Tyler Conklin showing up and being a consistent weapon, and guys like Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses and Tittman balling out. And it was, a luxury for us and genuine peace and bliss for our ears as Jets fans, right? None of that translated to the regular season. So I don't blame him. And I do remember, immediately after hearing that, I was wondering if he was calling out anybody on the offensive side, which would be a huge sign of, a fissure within this team to me. But after further thought, I do think this is more so related to the coaching staff, right? The message tends to be the same. We hear it from Robert Saleh. We hear it from Hackett on the occasions that we get to hear from him, where it's a problem, we'll get it fixed, we'll get addressed. It's unacceptable. And then we see the same kind of performance, right, for essentially a month's worth of games. So I'm wondering if the coaching staff will, listen a little bit more intently with it coming from the defense, and that being Saleh's bread and butter. And if he's going to survive here in New York past this year, it's most likely going to be because of his defense. And of course, the offense stepping up a bit. But you also flip to the other side. I don't think during Saleh's tenure, he's been called out by both sides of the ball, just this openly, right? Maybe behind closed doors is a little bit different, but you also have Malachi Corley, the young rookie, understanding he was a third-round pick for us, right? So day 2 prospect. And guys, plenty of people thought that it was a steal, right? That he could have been, probably a low first round guy, but certainly a round 2 pick. So the Jets got a steal, the Yak King. He's been posting imagery and tweeting stuff left and right about him being one of the most difficult receivers in all of college football to have brought down, right? I think one of his images specifically showed that he was the second best wide receiver in college football when it comes to breaking tackles. And he has the moniker Yak King for a reason, and yet this coaching staff can't figure out how to get him on the field. We've seen him for all of 2 snaps, right? And I won't say he's had an overly impressive preseason or anything, or even offseason with training camp, but you gotta know how to use a weapon like this, right? He literally excelled, and multiple years of this at Western Kentucky, where not only was he the player for offense, which means teams had to always account for him, but he did a lot of his damage within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but certainly everything at and behind in the backfield. And yet I don't know what our excuse is. Xavier Gibson, who has, I don't know, maybe 3 catches for 30 yards so far, and then Alan Lazard, who always will have a case of the Butterfingers, but at least looks like an improved version. You can find a way to get Corley on the field, right? Especially considering you see moves like us elevating Adrian Martinez, and while I loved him during the preseason, what's the deal, right? So I have a huge gripe about that. Any OC worth his salt, head coach, etc., they should be able to find a way for a guy who literally has the traits to excel in a quick game passing attack or a short game passing attack, or just wanting to get your guy in open space and manufacturing touches, right? This is almost as perfect as a situation as you can fall into for a gadget type guy in an offense that's struggling, and yet they refuse to use him. So I'm hoping there are some significant changes, but I feel like week in and week out and year after year so far, I think I'm going into maybe year 2.5 to, year 3 on, doing just content. And I feel like I'm saying the same thing pretty often, complete broken record here. But hopefully the culmination of hearing it from all of these guys, right? Special teams players, ideally, if you want to fit in Malachi Corley, is that defense, certainly offense. I don't know what wholesale changes we can get. Nathaniel Hackett refuses to really utilize motion. I believe we've fallen into the bottom 20s now, and I think we're only at 25, maybe prior to the Vikings game, in terms of utilizing motion. That's fine. If we were able to do anything successfully on offense, it would make sense that he wants to simplify things to try to give his guys maybe the mental advantage, etc. But that isn't the case. It's not like we're consistently getting first downs within the first or second first or second downs throughout the game. It's not like we're consistently converting on third downs anymore, where I think maybe after week 2 we were first. It's not like we're having tons of explosive plays, a ton of huge plays. The running game isn't working. The receiving game isn't working. And Rodgers is on the floor for half of the game, right? So it's a recipe for disaster. But let me know what you guys think. I honestly think I talk myself into stuff like this all the time. Hearing Quincy's thoughts and, the coaching staff probably walking up to him to, dive into this further, I think could promote some kind of change, especially since he doesn't want his team to break on the basis that his defense has finally just said enough is enough. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.